The War of the Roses was a civil war between the houses of Lancaster and York. Both descended from King Edward III, fought for the control of the throne of England. The final victory went to a claimant of the Lancastrian house, Henry VII, who defeated the last Yorkish king, Richard III. Aiming to stop the rebellion, Henry married Elizabeth of York, finally uniting the two roses. And that's the beginning of the Tudor dynasty. The first Tudor monarch, Henry VII, firmly believed that war and glory were bad for business, and that business was good for the state. He, therefore, avoided quarrels either with Scotland, France, or Spain. In order to secure peace with Scotland, he arranged the marriage of his daughter, Margaret Tudor. The marriage meant that James IV's descendants would have claim to the English throne. He also arranged a marriage between his eldest son, Arthur, and the Spanish princess, Catherine of Aragon. But a year later, Arthur died, making his younger brother Henry the new heir to the throne. Regarding finances, 1 year after his victory, Henry made an important trade agreement with the Netherlands, which allowed English trade to grow again. Henry understood that England's future wealth would depend on international trade, and in order to trade, England must have its own fleet of merchant ships. Furthermore, Henry was fortunate because many of the old nobility had been defeated in the recent wars, and the lands had gone to the king. This meant that he had more power than earlier kings. Henry's aim was to make the crown financially independent. He encouraged the use of heavy fines as punishment, and he never spent money unless he had to. He created a new nobility from among merchants and lesser gentry classes, and men unknown before now became Henry's statement. When Henry died in 1509, he left behind a huge total of 2 million. Unlike his father, Henry VIII was cruel, wasteful with money, and interested in pleasing himself. He wanted to become an important influence in European politics, but France and Spain were more powerful than England. In fact, Spain was even more powerful because it was united with the Holy Roman Empire. Henry successfully allied himself with Spain, and when he was not rewarded, he changed its sides. He spent so much on maintaining a magnificent court and on wars from which England had little to gain, that his father's carefully saved money was soon gone. Consequently, Henry was always looking for new sources of money, and taxes paid to the church reduced his own income. His dislike for the power of the church started growing as he realized that it could not be completely in his control. However, Henry had a stronger reason to dislike Rome. He had married Catherine of Aragon, who had not had a son and was not likely to do so. She only had a daughter who survived infancy, Mary. For this reason, Henry wanted to divorce Catherine and marry his new love, Anne Boleyn. Henry and Cardinal Wolsey tried to persuade the Pope to get the divorce, but the Pope was controlled by Charles V, King of Spain and Catherine's nephew. As a result, he forbade Henry's divorce. In 1531, Henry persuaded the bishops to make him head of the church in England, and this became law after Parliament passed the Act of Supremacy in 1534. Henry was now free to divorce Catherine and marry Anne. Henry's break with Rome was purely political. He had simply wanted to control the church and to keep its wealth in his own kingdom. He did not approve of the new ideas of Reformation Protestantism. Between 1536 and 1539, Henry and Thomas Cromwell, his new assistant, closed 560 monasteries. Henry died in 1547, leaving behind his sixth wife Catherine Parr and his 3 children, Mary the eldest, Elizabeth, who was the daughter of Anne Boleyn, who had been executed when Henry got tired of her, and his 9-year-old only son, Edward, son of Jane Seymour, Henry's 3rd wife. Edward VI was only a child when he became king, so the country was ruled by a council. He died at the age of 16, leaving the throne to his sister Mary. When Edward died, nobles wanted to put Jane Grey, a Protestant, on the throne, because it was well known that Mary was a Catholic. However, Mary became queen and chose to marry King Philip of Spain. It was an unfortunate choice, and the ordinary people disliked the marriage. During her reign, Mary dealt cruelty with the Protestants and began burning them. Only the knowledge that Mary herself was dying prevented a popular rebellion. When Mary died in 1558, Elizabeth became queen. She wanted to find a peaceful answer to the problems of English Reformation. She wanted to bring together again those parts of English society in political disagreement. In 1559, Protestantism remained closer to the Catholic religion, but Elizabeth made sure that the Church was still under her authority. In a way, she made the Church part of the state. The struggle between Catholics and Protestants continued to endanger Elizabeth's position for the next 30 years. Both France and Spain were Catholics and wanted to marry Elizabeth and control England. Nevertheless, Elizabeth was smart enough not to marry any of them, but England could be attacked at any moment. Finally, there was a danger from those Catholic nobles still in England, who wished to remove Elizabeth and replace her with Mary, the Queen of Scots, who was a Catholic and Elizabeth's closest relative. Knowing this, Elizabeth kept Mary as a prisoner for almost 20 years. When she finally agreed to Mary's execution in 1587, was because Mary had named Philip of Spain as her heir to the throne of England, and because Philip had decided to invade England. Elizabeth died without children, being the last Tudor monarch.